Happy Monday. This is Martha Rice, your life and health coach, coming to you today with Mondays with Martha. Yay! Today I have a special guest, Mr. Westry, and today we're going to be talking about this pandemic that hit our nation. And the topic that we're talking about today is finding peace in the midst of chaos. So that's kind of what we'll be discussing. And so I invited Mr. Westry because we come from pretty much two different generations. And I wanted you guys to see the two different perspectives on how we are dealing with this situation that we have that just hit our system. Everybody has their own stressors, and everybody has a way of dealing with stress. So we just want to give a discussion so we can normalize what you're feeling, because sometimes we feel like we're in this alone, and we're not. We're a community, and so how do we deal with this as a community? So Mr. Westry, what do you have to say?
The first thing I want to say is hello to the viewers or whoever's going to watch this. I want them to know how excited I am to be a part of your Mondays with Martha's episode. I didn't know if I was cool enough to get on or not, so I'm excited about being a part of it. I just want to say how proud I am of you for starting this, and when the opportunity came, I'm excited about sharing whatever I can to let people know how we're feeling about this pandemic. So let's do it.
Okay. So Mr. Westry, tell me, from your perspective, what is your definition of peace?
Peace is definitely something that is internal. And I think a lot of people try to find peace through external forces, or situations. So, but it's something that's within. The best example I can explain is I remember my wife and I, when we first got married and moved to our first apartment as a married couple. It had all the bells and whistles. I just started my career job. So, and it was nice, updated in a resort type of environment. But we had some bumps in our marriage, and although the external forces were beautiful, we struggled internally. So to contrast that, when we moved, we downgraded. And when we downgraded, we dealt with a lot of issues with management, a lot of problems in our apartment. However, we felt peace because it taught us how to come together. As a couple, we came together and we experienced peace, even though the outside circumstances weren't ideal, if that makes sense. And I think it's that unity thing that happened that created the peace for us. So I just want people to know, like, it's peace to me is like freedom from anxiety, freedom from worry, freedom from it's in your mind, right? So once your mind give into those things, it's disrupting your peace, and we have to fight through that all the time. So that's like my long answer.
No, that's great. Actually, it's true, because peace is internal. It is something that we do have to we have to think about. It's not nothing outer on the outer surface. It's interesting because you mentioned anxiety, and we all are experiencing that anxiety, and all of us are experiencing it differently. And it's mainly because, I don't know if there's a psychologist, Andrew Maslow, where he talk about the basic needs and the motivation of behavior. And as we watch how people are responding to what this pandemic that happened, we wonder what's motivating them to go buy so much toilet paper. What's motivating? We can't get caught up in the fact they're doing it and how frustrating it is. But I often think about what's motivating, and I use it in my management and techniques, because I think about what's motivating. How are my workers doing? If they are worried or stressed, it affects their job. If this situation has put us in a position where our basic needs, like Maslow's theory say, if we don't have the basic needs like food, clothing, and shelter, we can't progress to the next level. And if our safety is questioned, we can't. It really stops us from moving to the next level and causes us to behave a certain way. So then this pandemic has hit us in our physiological needs, our safety needs, as well as our just connecting together. We talking social distance. We have a need to connect. So this is actually touching us in so many different ways. So my question is, when you go out, you have to go make an essential errand. What is it like for you? What are your thoughts, your feelings? What are you going through when you hit the door?
That's a great question. So when I go out, of course, everyone's anxious about spacing. So that's the first thing you see when you go to the grocery store. You notice how people are spaced out in lines, and immediately, if you're anything like me, you're like, I don't think I need what I need that bad, right? Because we don't want to stand in those lines, right. lines, and we're like, this is crazy. Like I'm used to going in and out, okay. But there's extra precaution. There's this precaution type of feeling or type of vibe in the air once you go and try to go to the grocery stores. And the one thing that I've noticed is the scarcity mindset of grabbing all this toilet paper. I think the media has played a big role, and once you see that toilet paper aisles are empty on social media, or your friend sends you a picture of like, wow, look, the toilet paper's gone. Right. It makes people, I think, want to go out there and get toilet paper so that they won't be in their homes worried about having that necessity. So that's one element to it. Also, I think my wife and we have learned to just be happy with what's there. So although you may not get your favorite brand of chicken, or right. you may not get your favorite soap, as long as, I'm like, do we have food? What do we have? What were you able to get? Okay, we'll use it. We're eating whatever you're able to pick up. So that's basically how we've tackled it. And okay. I think that there's a sense of peace, though, too, when the streets are clear. Okay. I can walk down the street with my daughter and no one's out there. It's like everything is calm, and we're used to I think we don't understand that we're used to chaos. Okay. The regular grind of our schedules is chaotic. Interesting. Because everyone's out. People are in these spaces close to each other, whether they're hanging out at the restaurant or bars, but when everyone is quiet and everything is kind of calmed down, this is peace. But I think people are so used to that grind of like, I'm going to work and then I have to go to the store and then I need to go to Marshall's, or all those routine things actually don't provide peace. The peace is when you look outside and no one's there, the air feels nice. I don't feel like anyone is breathing up my air right now. So I think that at the grocery stores, there's definitely a sense of urgency when you're like, wait, should I buy the toilet paper? Like, is something wrong with me? But there's also a sense of peace when you're driving by. The roads have never been this clear.
That's funny you say that, because when I go to the store, I have that. I don't want to get caught up in the whole let's buy this, let's buy that. I want to buy, when I go to the store, I go there to buy exactly what I need. But when I get in there and I see all of this urgency, I find myself sort of getting pulled in and have to yank myself right back out, because I'm like, wait a minute, hold up, this is not who I am. And it's funny because you get caught up in the environment of it. You're like, wait a minute, should I be doing this? So it's interesting that you mentioned that.
And also, I think I think a question I have for you at this moment, if that's okay
That's
with you.
Perfect.
So I know that you look great, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
And I know that you've been eating healthy, putting the right things in your body. And when we talk about going to the grocery store, we understand the hassle and like how you have to be patient with what's there. And I guess I would like you to share like how do you maintain good health and get the products that you need in the midst of the hectic moments at the store?
That's a great question. What I find that because I eat healthy now, when I go to the store, I'm not looking for canned goods. I'm not looking for non-perishable items. I'm looking for vegetables, and it's always full of what I need. Always, because my husband and I, we of course, we juice celery, and I have to buy 7 stalks a week in order to juice celery. So when I go to the store, I have all of that, and so I have to go weekly because those are they don't last that long, so you have to eat them right away because they vegetables, and that's what I'm going to the store to purchase. I'm really not purchasing anything off the shelf that much unless it's like rice for my husband, beans, or seasonings.
Okay.
So I'm pretty good at finding those things. Now when it comes to the meat, sometimes it can be where the meat is extremely scarce, but I did have trouble at first, but when I go so I have to kind of go in the morning. I have to schedule it early, and I have to be conscious that they are letting the elderly go first. So I have to be conscious of like I'll go between the hours of 10 and 11, and I should be fine. But if I go in the late afternoon, it's a possibility I'm not going to get any meat. But I don't eat a whole lot of meat, and I'm selective with my meat, so that's the only thing. But other than that, that's pretty good. That's pretty much, I'm pretty good in that aspect because people are not buying vegetables. Please don't start buying vegetables. They're not buying the vegetables. And so my question to you is interesting. My question to you is, and we're working from home, and I'm often curious of how are you managing you have a 2-year-old, and not only that, how are you have students to deal with. How are you managing being a teacher, an English teacher? How do you manage that part of your life now that we have to stay home and work from home? How are you managing your time? Were you able to give your daughter the attention she needs, as well as, because I know kids at home like mommy's home, or daddy's home. They're not looking at this at that age as being social distancing. They looking at it as oh my God, it's fun. I get to see my parents. How are you managing that?
First of all, I think it's weird for my daughter because she's used to, daddy being gone throughout the week. So I'm sure she's like, wait, is every day Saturday? Like, are we able to hang out all the time like this? But I think at the same time, so the first part of your question is to let your viewers know I teach high school English, but I think I handled that portion of my life. We've set up online classes for our kids, so I'm able to connect with them through Zoom. So Zoom videos, I'm able to lecture and connect with them through that way, and it's kind of funny because they actually like miss coming to school. I mean, some of my kids who complained all year, like I can't wait till the year is over, I don't want to be in this school, they actually enjoy coming to school now. I mean, they want to go back to school rather. So we connect through online, and when it comes to dealing with it at home, it took some time to get into the groove of it. It was weird, but I think the first thing I had to do was have a designated space to do the work. So I had to figure out a place in my house to figure out like where do I want to set up to work from home. And the second thing is trying to make it as normal as possible. just because I'm not going into the physical building, the times that I used to wake up when I did have to go to work, try to keep it normal. Like, what were some things that were a part of your routine that you did do? So just try to keep it as normal as possible and stick to those habits. So, and my wife pretty much makes sure that I have that time. So she sacrifices a lot of her time during the times that I have to work. So she's occupying Francis while I'm doing work. Okay. And she allows me to have that time to let her know, like, you know, Daddy's busy at this moment. But other than that, I just try to keep it as normal as possible. Okay. I try to, like, implement my daily routines, waking up, praying, trying to get some exercise, and trying to keep it the schedule as if I'm going back to work, because we don't know when that's going to happen, right? Okay, like tomorrow they could be like, we found the cure, go back to work. So I'm trying to keep it
so hoping that
as normal. If that makes sense.
Yes, that makes sense. That definitely makes sense. Yeah, so you definitely, that's a good idea to have online classes with your students, because they need that motivation as well.
Yeah, there's a certain amount of your body and your mind needs to be challenged in order to feel like you've accomplished something. Society has made that for us, right? Like, you go to work to this building in order to challenge your mind, to feel like when I'm done challenging my mind at work, I feel accomplished, right? Or you need to challenge your body the way you work out, like you feel good after your body is being pushed. But now this pandemic has forced our society to not be confined, or it's not, those ways that we need to be pushed aren't scheduled anymore, right? Because we have to be at home. It's kind of weird, and we have to figure out how can we stimulate our minds, how can we push ourselves in those ways that society did for us with that schedule, or the people that are not like business owners, or that has to be like go to a specific job. And for the kids, they're used to being pushed mentally at school because they have set times where this is when you go to this class. But now that has been removed, they realize how much they miss something about it. You hate it, but it's something about like the good that comes from feeling accomplished, I think.
That's interesting that they're actually missing the actual atmosphere of the academic world. I find that very interesting. So how has this situation, what have you learned in this situation since we've been in it for weeks now? What have you learned?
I think I've learned that, first of all, we have to learn who we are outside of our physical jobs.
That is so true.
We have to learn who we are outside of our routine restaurants. Or, shops are closing. So there's certain places we like to go, and those things aren't available. So we have to learn who we are outside of those things. Like, can I hone in my skills? Like, I'm a husband, a father. So those things are what's gonna last even in a crisis. So we have to learn who we are outside of those things. And I think I've learned, like, maybe there's ways that we should figure out how to be self-sufficient. Through this pandemic, you realize how reliant we are on the grocery store to have products for us that we talk about. So, like, can we learn how to make our own soaps? Can we learn how to make our own detergent so that we don't have to rely as much? Not saying I don't want you to ever have to leave to go purchase something, but in times of like this, it's beneficial, right?
It's funny how we take advantage of things that we never took advantage of before, right? I think about how much I take advantage of the fact that I can visit my family anytime I want, but never do it because I had the opportunity to do it anytime I wanted. But now with this social distancing, it's like, oh my God, I had so many trips planned that I had to move back because I couldn't make it to see my niece. I couldn't make it to go hang out with. We have Sister Day coming up. I got to move my ticket back again. So these are things that we really take for granted. you know, most of the time we don't think about it's going to come to an end one day. And what are we going to do? And like you said, the interesting part about being self-sufficient, we take that for granted, that we can go to the store, we can go buy these products. And I never thought about running out of toilet paper. But these are the things that we face with today, right? And so, with that being said, how are you connecting with your family during these times?
Connecting with family. You actually set up the Sunday Zoom conferences, which is awesome. I mean, it's nice we can't physically be around each other, right, but hearing their voices, knowing they're okay, hearing their humor, and just connecting. We have to connect through social media, and I'm a young old type of thinker because I don't really do social media.
Right.
But this pandemic has forced me to do it in my job. Like, I'm recording lectures and I'm really stepping into those uncomfortable places, and now I'm connecting with people online when I'm kind of old school minded. Like, why am I talking to you through this device? Or why am I checking on you through this page and stalking your every move? But I see the benefit of it now. I'm
right,
quiet about it. I'm like, wow, this is amazing to me now. So I think through social media.
So how do you feel about now that we have this social distancing? Do you still, I know that you're not a Facebook person, you're not an Instagram person. What do you feel about it now that we faced with this social distance?
I think it's something that gets a bad rep because some people may abuse it, and it could be a distraction because we have a lot going on. I mean, I have a 2-year-old. Like, I can't scroll and watch what everyone is eating for breakfast. Like, but I think that this time has shown me that it's a tool to connect with people. It's more about the people,
right,
than about the social media, if that makes sense. It's more about connection with the people. So I think that I've learned, like, that's a tool to connect, and it's a way to reach people that you may not even know, and to connect with the people that you do know, because that's the only way we can at this moment. We're stripped of physical connection. So I actually have a good thinking on it now.
Oh, okay. It changed your thinking a little bit.
Sure.
And it's interesting because you're right. People are looking more to connect more than anything now, because being social distancing, if you're not careful, and that's why I set up the Zoom, because I don't want us to get to a place where we isolate it, because isolation is dangerous. It can cause depression. It causes more anxiety. And the media has its place, right? And I think we need to educate ourselves by watching what's going on with the news, but just taking it in all day can be very unhealthy as well, because you got to have a place to say, okay, I'm getting my information I need. I'm doing my I'm taking out the time to educate myself on what's going on in the world, but I gotta pull back because I have a family. You have to have that balance where you're pulling back and you still you have to have time for family. You have to have time to work. You have to have time to take care of yourself. You gotta have time. Where's your exercise time in? Now the gyms are closed. How are you exercising?
So exercise is in the morning, morning runs.
Okay.
The government, I guess, said we need to not be with more than 10 people. So if I'm just by myself, I figure I'm safe. So morning runs, I need to do more of it, of course, but morning runs is a part of my exercise routine lately. Okay. And this is a perfect segue for a question for you.
Sure.
So I know that you're an extreme extrovert.
True that.
Like, you thrive off of social connection, talking to people.
True
that actually energizes you. So my question is, for someone like you, like, how are you adjusting How are you fueling yourself socially, and has it been a challenge for you during this time?
It actually has been a challenge to being an extrovert. I am a social butterfly, but I think on one hand it has caused me to bring out a creative part of me that say, how can I connect with my friends through Zoom, because I still feel connected. It's like we come to a time, you see people texting. I'm gonna be honest with you, I hate texting. I want to talk to you face to face. I miss those times when we can visit. I miss those times when hey, I'm on my way over and we hang out. But I can't do that now. And when being an extrovert, people do fuel me. And so I reach out through social media. I'm picking up the phone and making a phone call. But the Zoom piece is major for me because I get to see their faces. And just to have that communication, it's not about the time I spend, it's the quality of it.
Okay.
Being able to pick up the phone, let's talk. Let's really talk. So that piece has caused me to be more creative. Now I have to have a creative approach at being with people because I can't be with people over. I mean, that I work from home too, so I have to get out the house sometimes and get some air. So I go running, and I come back, and I did get my air. But you know what I find that's really beautiful is on Facebook Live when people do Facebook Live, and I say, hey, it's almost like they can see me, but I can't see them, but they can see me, and so. The fun part about it is just messing around with it, and seeing how they're doing. I'm watching people who have gifts, who's on there like DJing. If they a DJ, they on there DJing. If they a singer, they on there singing. If they're health, personal trainers, they're on there doing personal training sessions, which I find to be very creative, and I'm really enjoying watching people being creative like that. So I think it's just as long as I make sure that I'm able to see the people and venture out, I'm happy. Now, let the phone shut down or something like that. You might want to find me in a psychiatrist chair or something. I'm just kidding. Well,
shout out to Zoom and Facebook Live. I'm missing out on these beautiful things that are happening.
Yeah.
Not on Facebook.
It is nice. It's nice to see now. People they putting recipes, they cooking. It's nice, really nice to see people be creative, and that's what I'm doing. I'm starting to be creative and reaching out to see people more and more. Thank God for technology during this time. So that's what I love about it. Any more questions for me?
Just peace. How does lack of peace? Because we talked about the scarcity mindset, and sometimes a lot of people with anxiety, I notice, because I'm a pretty calm individual, and I try to keep that. But I mean, whether we're with our coworkers or whether we're with friends or family, sometimes they can kind of bum rush us with anxiety.
Oh, yes.
Whether they're fears about something and they bring it to you, and it's almost like I have to wear a shield, like an invisible shield, to push it off of me, because that anxiety can transfer from one person to the next,
right.
Where I'm worrying about stuff that I have no business worried about. Like, this is something that doesn't even apply to me. So I guess my question is how does lack of peace affect people, especially during this time?
Well, during this time, like I told you, because basic needs is being questioned, and people losing their jobs, people have to be distant. People are at the stores, literally some of them fighting over, getting food. That's why they have to have police patrol. Lack of peace is pretty much displayed in that type of behavior, because you're anxious, you're scared. The root cause is fear. And if you're fearful, so I put it this way, and the way I feel about it, there's a time where if I say that I'm the source of what I have, then when something like this hit, who am I dependent on? Me, right?
That's right.
So that's gonna elicit fear automatically because I'm thinking I'm the only one that's in charge of my resources, right? But my perspective, and I think it has everything to do with your perspective. My perspective is God is my provider. He said he would never let me not have food or anything to eat because he said if he let the birds eat, how much valuable am I as a human being? So I'm looking at Jesus as my source, not me. So that's my dependency. So it removes the fear. I have no fear over that because I have no control over that. I can control. I have no control of this pandemic that's going on. The only way I can control it, my part in it, is to make sure I keep my hands clean. Make sure I am abiding by the law, because we're supposed to do that as Christians. Not only that, my job is to make sure that I protect my family and make sure that I still care for others and love others in the midst of this, because that's what Christians, as a Christian, we're supposed to display that. This is a time where people they really have the fear is real. Everybody is dealing with this different. But my job is to understand where my resources come from. My resources don't come from what I do. It don't come from me. It comes straight from the Lord. He is my provider. So if he is my provider, what am I worried for? It removes the fear. But if I'm my sole provider and I think I'm in control of everything, then I put myself in a very vulnerable state.
So basically, what are you putting that where are you putting your reliability on peace, or like where are you putting it towards God as your source? But if it's put in the wrong place,
if it's put in the wrong place, you will have the fear, you will have the anxiety, you will have all of these things. So the lack of peace, to me, is a lack of knowing where your resources come from. And once you realize where your resources come from, if it's coming from you, then you your only source. So you know, like I said, the lack of peace causes anxiety. You see the behavior because people are scared, and the fear is real. You know, I'm not saying don't be fearful, because I can't say that, because everybody's situation is different. It's your perspective in the situation that causes the behavior around it, if that makes sense.
That's true, and I like what you said about as far as helping others and knowing, because sometimes even with this chaos, everyone's vigilant about or worried about distancing, but you know, God may be speaking to you in the area of trying to help someone, and in that moment you're so fearful that you can't even hear what the source is trying to get you to do.
Exactly.
Whether it's, you know, helping someone get something in the store, or just having a conversation, trying to encourage someone, the fear is at a level to where all we're thinking about is how to save ourselves. So I love how you brought that up as something to remember. Like, as we're going into these moments where people have anxiety, are we still able to hear what the source is telling us? Are we still able to help others? Or are we so caught up in the fear or the anxiety that we're not even opening ourselves up, if that makes sense, to be a vessel, to be used, because we're caught up in that, if that makes sense.
So let me ask you this question. What advice would you give the world that's viewing this on how to find peace in the chaos?
That's a great question, and I feel like if I can really give a good answer, maybe I can become a millionaire, because I'm sure a lot of people would want that one answer. But I think there's a couple of things that's to it. The way I look at it, and even before this pandemic, like I struggled with peace when it come to like thinking about my job or how to support my family. I think as a man, that's one thing that disturbs your peace, like moments where you want to get your family to a certain point, or you want to thrive in your job because we want to do well in what we're doing. So some of those things can cause a disruption of your peace, but I think of it as like a war zone. So I've never served in the army, but I'm thinking of a war happening. You have grenades coming at you, you have machine guns flying, and you have to take cover, right? So in those moments where these things are flying at you, what we tend to do is we tend to want to isolate. I know I do. Like when I'm going through something, I want to cave in. I don't want to present this horrible version of myself. Like, let me just deal with this. When I get pretty again, I'll come out of the room.
I
don't want to go to work. I just want to like lay down and watch a good show. So I think a lot of it is movement. Like, I think I was at work and God gave me this this idea of movement. Like, Frank, you have to move, like, in the midst of this. So while these things are happening, you have to find the peace by movement. So movement, I mean by like, not, you don't have to run, but if that's what you want to do, but movement in a sense of like, this is the time where you need to tighten up on your routines that fuel you. This is the time where you need to be connected to people who are going to breathe life and speak life into your life.
Amen.
This is not a time for you to be hanging out with people who are going to remind you of more anxieties, right? Like, I don't need that. I need someone that's going to be like, look, you're going to be fine.
Right.
I'm going to pray for you. This is what we're going to do. So I think the first thing is movement, and like I said, tightening up on routines. Like, I had to really like set some time to pray because I had to realize that I have to give that to him. I can't bear it, like you talked about. Like, he's the source. So I had to make sure that I was praying at a certain time. I had to make sure that I was interacting with the right people. I had to make sure that I was fueling my mind with the right things. You talked about the news, and I'm not against getting the news. I think we need to keep up with what's happening, but a lot of it is, constant deaths or constant cautions. And it's good to know, but if we get too much of it, like, what's filling you up positively? So we need a little bit of that. So I think the three things would be movement as in like tighten up on your routines that make you feel good, because that anxiety are things that stops us from doing those things that make us feel good. That's one point. The second thing is watch who you're interacting with. You don't want people that's going to suck the life out of you. You want people that's going to speak life into you.
Amen. That's
going to sit down and believe with you. Not people that are going to be like, oh yeah, that sucks, man. Like, I don't know what you're going to do. Or if I were you, I would just not want to do anything at all. So you don't want those people that are going to put you in a position to do something you're going to regret. And also watch what you're taking in would allow you to open yourself up to it, because those are the ways that I kind of fight it. But the main thing is movement. You got to keep moving. In the midst of it, you have to, peace is something like you say, how do you find peace? It is something that you have to find within your situation, right? And it's inside. It's not something, it's not based on performance, right? Like, because this didn't go well, I'm not feeling peace. And this really, I'm sorry, this is a long answer, but this is really, this speaks to like my year as a teacher. It's funny because there's a high level of stress when it comes to teaching, when it comes to these standardized exams.
Right.
So there's a big weight on you that you feel. You want to, like I said, you want to do well at your job. So when it's about the test scores and how are the kids achieving and stuff like that, and I used to work from a energy of like force and stress and like anxiety. Like, so I'll project that on the kids, like, you have to do well so we can show that we're competent, right? So I was projecting that on the kids, and this year I backed off a lot. I taught the content, and I let it be. Like, I felt peace with that. I felt okay with doing that. So I think that once I did that, the performance happened. There were moments where I was like, okay, you didn't do well, but that's okay. Next time you're gonna do well. And speaking life into those kids and watching things turn around without force.
Right.
Like, it was just like, wow. Like, I found peace. I was able to speak peace, and something happened. It was weird. I've never seen that before. Usually I'm thinking I have to like drill them.
Right.
You gotta learn this. You sit down. I'm gonna chain you to the seat until you learn this, so these people don't think I'm crazy.
That's the power of having peace within, because you're able to project it to other people, and it does. It propels them to move forward because they're not anxious. Anxiety shuts you down. It shuts your mind down. It's really just not even helpful, but it's actually happening to people. So it's that question of what's behind anxiety is a fearful outcome. So we have to be careful about this situation. That's why in my last video I said pause on the worry. Pause. Put the panic on pause. Because right now it's going to be a time where you have to panic, but wait till that time, because don't use your energy being anxious, because what's going to happen is it's going to shut you down, and it's not going to be, you're not going to be productive. Not only that, it causes sickness as well. You know, it really you really can't focus on the outcome. Even in this situation, we can't focus on, am I gonna get sick? Am I gonna get sick? Just do the things you can not to get sick. And when it happened, then you step back and do exactly what you're supposed to do. But right now, deal with the process, not the outcome.
The key is consistency, right?
That's what I want that's what I want the viewers to see, is to make sure that you focus on the process, not the outcome. Because what's gonna happen. But notice that, pay attention to what your resources are around you. Pay attention to your community. Pay attention to what you have around you so that you can get through this. Because we're in this together. We're not alone.
That's right. And
when you feel alone, you can't battle this. No team ever produced anything magnificent by themselves. It always took a team effort to be successful. So thank you for joining me today. Very insightful.
Thank you for having me. It's an honor, a privilege to be on the show.
And I hope you guys, I'll probably call them up again on some things, but I hope you guys enjoyed us today, and I hope that this was helpful, and hopefully you were able to take away something from our talk. But coming from two different generations, it's a very interesting topic to delve into. So happy Monday, and remember, don't worry about the outcome. Just enjoy the process while you're going through it. Do what you can to make it the best thing you can be. Make it the best you can. That's what I would say. Enjoy your families while they're home. Don't say, oh God, I'm stuck with them. No, try your best to enjoy them, because we got to go back to work pretty soon, and we're going to be hustling and bustling. But right now, let's just enjoy the process and watch out. And when the outcome, if it comes to the point where we have to worry, then we take that time to figure out how we're going to get around the virus. If it ever hit our system close by, let's figure out how we can get past it. They have all these type of things on YouTube, and the doctors telling us what to do. Let's just be obedient, follow the rules, and let's just get through this as a nation. We got this. Have a good Monday.